Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this month's featured video podcast sponsored by GPS Trackit. I'm Tom Kim with Rhodes, provider of the platform powering the GPS Trackit marketplace. Today, we have the pleasure of being joined by A2B, one of the fastest growing fuel card providers in today's market. They'll be discussing the various factors that impact fuel spend, and you'll learn how to safely and securely reduce your fleet's fuel spend with one simple solution. To kick it off, Jeff Alsop from GPS Trackit will share a few thoughts, followed by a presentation from Ryan and Mark with A2B. We'll wrap up the session with a quick overview on how to find the A2B fuel card solution on the GPS Trackit marketplace. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A button and we'll address all questions at the end of the session. With that, I'll pass it along to Jeff from GPS Trackit.
Thank you, Tom. So a little background on GPS Trackit. Well, our ultimate goal here, guys, is to improve top and bottom line profitability. What we want to do is turn telematics data that we provide into actionable dashboards and reports for diagnosis and monitoring of those results. Our ultimate goal is to increase revenues through productivity and efficiency, give business owners, fleet administrators transparency into their fleet on a daily basis, and additionally work to lower overhead costs. One of those big areas is fuel management, fuel fraud, and things of that nature. So that's why we're here today to discuss that with A2B, have them provide us the tools they have, the tricks they have in their bag to help us out in that avenue of our business. So go ahead and pass it on to Ryan. Appreciate you joining us today. Look forward to what you got to show us.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm a partner growth manager here at A2B. I oversee our partner relationships. Today, we're going to talk about three things in relation to fuel spend. The first is we're going to be talking about the industry as it is today. We're going to go through security, discounts, support. Next, we'll talk about industry best practices. And then as Tom mentioned, at the end of the session, we can hold a Q&A session for anyone that has those burning questions throughout this. So getting going, what we hear in the industry today is multiple things. We hear folks saying that they are missing out on meaningful discounts by being unable to control driver behavior. They're finding that 3 to 5% of all of their fuel spend is turning out to be fraudulent. They're having a tough time getting a hold of customer service. It takes hours to get on the phone, and when someone's stranded on the side of the road, that is a really bad thing. Folks are only able to receive discounts at certain brands. They're penalized for going to other ones, and 8 to 10% of the time, their cards are failing. So what this all adds up to is tangible and intangible costs. What tangible costs look like are fraudulent card usage, going to stations that are less than optimal. Those are higher price stations just by going to the nearest one near them. There's limited discount networks, and cards are failing and locking out. Some intangible costs that come along with this are operator frustration, poor customer service, so taking hours to get on the phone when you're on a job, cumbersome physical card management. What that looks like is being unable to download your statements from a portal, being unable to export IFTA reporting, and then just outdated technology in general. So let's look at some of the security issues today. What fueling looks like a lot today is there's a PIN code attached to a card, and these are really easy to share. Folks can use these pins, they can share them around. People end up filling their personal jerry cans. They're able to fill up their partners or their friends' vehicles. And fleet managers spend about 2 days a month investigating these. So a lot of it is really retroactive and manual work after the fact, all while not preventing the fraud in the first place. Today, 86% of fleet managers think that their drivers are committing some sort of fraudulent activity, and 40% of drivers have seen another act fraudulently. It's a widespread cost across the industry, and is largely, legacy providers have been in place for so long, it's largely just accepted as a cost of doing business. Fraudulent card usage adds up to from 25 to 50 cents a gallon. And a lot of folks think they could reduce their fuel spend by 5% or more simply by being proactive in eradicating fraudulent spend. Looking from a fleet manager's perspective, 74% of folks have fired a driver due to fraud. Not only are the fraudulent costs adding up, but this creates huge driver turnover within groups, which in itself is its own intangible cost. And then there's card failure. Looking at cards that are on a closed loop network, or you can only use them at certain stations. That leads to cards failing about 8 to 10% of the time. Folks are losing 15 minutes on average, just getting to and from these stations. And that all adds up to about 40 to 50 cents per transaction. So I'm going to pause here for a sec, because I know we've talked about a lot of costs, and just look at some of these tangible costs of fraudulent fueling and going to the wrong stations. So I think the big takeaways from this are largely, there's a ton of tangible costs. The big intangibles are, people are going off their route by 10 minutes. There's a lot of physical card management, that can come in the form of accounting, being unable to export, statements, and a ton of driver turnover. So now that we've kind of looked at the industry as it stands today, we want to look at a way forward. I think the way it is today is there's a lot of retroactive management that doesn't provide a whole lot of cost eradication. So I think the way forward for the industry is a proactive approach. How can we prevent stolen cards? How can we prevent fraudulent fueling of other people's vehicles? Can we open up cards to non-fuel purchases? We don't want just a fuel card, we want a fleet card. And all doing this with a proactive approach that prevents costs and also helps fleets increase revenue. So as I mentioned before, like a ton of cards are unlocked just using PINs. The way forward is really using a more technologically advanced solution. So by using either SMS unlock or a driver application, we can ensure that card is with the driver or with their device. This helps from sharing a card out to a friend where they can go to a different station. That phone has to be there to ensure the driver's with that card. And typically this will save you about 5 cents per gallon on average. Also, hitting on what Jeff said earlier, all this technology exists now. Fuel cards are able to leverage telematics to ensure that cards are always with the vehicles. Let's say you were filling up your vehicle, or let's say a card was outside of the vicinity of a vehicle. Advanced fuel card companies would be able to proactively block that transaction and flag to the fleet manager immediately. And this saves on average 11 cents per gallon. Another really cool thing that fuel cards are getting into is actually using telematics to look at tank levels of vehicles. So let's say you have a 40-gallon tank and 50 gallons are purchased or authorized in that tank. We're able to go ahead and block that transaction proactively before it happens or flag it immediately to a fleet manager. Another use case would be, hey, let's say there's 40% capacity left in your tank and someone fills up greater than that. That could also be blocked and flagged to a fleet manager. Also, ensuring that the fuel purchase is equal to the change in the fuel level of the tank. So if you purchased 100 gallons and there was only 80 gallons put in the tank, you would know that that extra 20 gallons went somewhere else, and you'd be able to kind of flag to the fleet manager and stop it in its tracks. We also have the ability to block those types of events. Getting a bit away from security and moving on to optimal station selection. This is a really easy problem to solve, all through a driver app. And this really puts the power in the driver's hands. So I'm going to quickly play this GIF here on the right that shows this feature in action. But what this does is it shows the drivers all the stations around them so that they can choose the one that's cheapest for their company. On average, this saves folks 21 cents a gallon. Here's a real life look at this up in Florence, Kentucky. So let's say a driver did not have an app. Typically what you're going to do is you're going to get off the interstate and you're going to go to the nearest station near you. Without having this power in your hands, you don't know that by driving 500 feet down the road, you could save 43 cents a gallon. So this is effectively a huge cost savings for fleets of vehicles. And this is totally discounts aside. This is just putting transparency and information into your fleet drivers' hands and letting them use it to the best of their abilities. So yeah, going a bit further here, I just wanted to like open this up for Q&A. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now. Happy to chat more about this. If you don't have any burning questions right now, you can contact me at ryanfrom@a2b.com or simply go to this landing page, fill out the first form, and we'll be in touch with you shortly.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you, Ryan, for that insightful presentation. Before we do Q&A, I just want to give a quick demo of the GPS tracking marketplace and just show users how to navigate to the A2B card. So we'll save all Q&A for another 5 minutes. Let me just take over the screen share here. Okay, so I'm going to put the URL to the GPS tracking marketplace in the chat window. So just want to take a moment again to give everyone a quick tour of the GPS tracking marketplace. This newly improved design gives users an enhanced experience when browsing for the right fleet management solutions. At the top here, you can use the search feature, the solution recommender, which is a quick and easy way to get tailored solutions based on your business needs. Or you can even call or book a meeting with us where you can speak with one of our experts in the commercial fleet space. Also highlighted are limited time offers from our marketplace vendors. Down below, you can browse by category to find relevant solutions and also see featured solutions. In the resources section, you can click on videos where you can see past podcasts. We'll also be posting a recording of today's podcast here. So now let's take a look at the A2B fuel card solution, which you can find under the category fuel management. If you click on the A2B fuel card solution, this will open up the full listing. And here you'll be able to see a quick overview, base package pricing, a media carousel, a who it's for section, features and benefits, a longer description, and a resource section with additional informative collateral. To speak with the A2B team, you can click on the request info button here, and they'll contact you within a business day. So there it is, a one-stop shop to find the right fleet management solutions to solve your fleet needs. So now we'll open it up for Q&A. So it looks like there is a question here. Ryan, this one's for you, Ryan or Mark. Can you see whether the driver fueled at the lowest cost location after the fact?
I'm happy to take that one, Ryan. The answer is yes. So we right now can generate an automatic report that will send you a list of your drivers in a leaderboard. And we're going to be able to understand which of your drivers are adhering to the program and therefore saving you money. So the more that we use the app, the more we're going to be able to route your drivers to the cheapest station, the more that driver will save. So as they continue to save, we want to recognize those drivers for doing a job well done, while also having visibility into drivers that aren't fueling optimally so that you guys can have the conversation to coach and train the drivers on how to save you guys more money. Hope that answered your question, but that will get you an automated report as a part of the package that is soon being built into our dashboard within the next month or so. Great question.
Thanks, Mark. Next question, can I also find optimal stations for diesel fuel?
Yes, the station selector, you can filter for diesel fuel as well as unleaded.
And just to add on that, we do allow for high canopy filtering. So if you do have, if you are operating a big rig and you want to make sure that your trucks can fit into those stations, we do allow for that. Want to make sure there's always clearance and an ability for that truck to reach the pump.
Great, thanks. Let's see, the next question. Are there any prepaid options for the fuel card versus credit limit on approval?
Yes, there is. We have a prepaid option. It's called our unlimited program. Folks can top it up as much as they like. Anyone is approved for it. And that's an option a lot of carriers go with.
All right, great, thanks. Let's see, let's do one more question. Is there any way to restrict fueling stations that cost too much?
Yeah, Mark, I'll let you add to this, but let's say you operate within a geographic area and you're using our optimal station selector a lot, or using our app to find the cheapest stations, and you're noticing like a trend, like, you know, there's 3 stations that are cheap, there's a bunch that are really expensive. You can actually whitelist and blacklist at the station level.
That's correct. You know, one thing we want to prevent is drivers from getting lazy. How can we, our tooling will always route them to the cheapest station. But if you have those troubled drivers that aren't going to use the app for any given reason, no matter how hard you push and train, we can blacklist it and prevent the card from being able to be used at that location. That's a really easy way of forcing function and making sure that your drivers aren't fueling at those stations that are known for being a premium.
All right, well, that's all the questions we have for today. Please visit the GPS tracking marketplace to find solutions to meet your fleet management solution needs, and also visit the A2B fuel card solution. Thank you, Jeff and the GPS Trackit team for sponsoring today's video podcast. And thank you, Ryan and Mark from A2B. And thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Tom.